We are live. We want to welcome you back to another episode of Spittin' and Chatting.
Yep.
We are looking forward to this one. This is a very, very hot topic, and we've been kind of planning for this one, for a while. We talk about this particular subject all the time, just as friends.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about roles today, and are they even necessary? So before we kind of get into it, please go ahead and like and subscribe. We're kind of new to this and we do appreciate the support. So wherever that button is, please like and subscribe and hit the notifications button so that way when the next videos drop. So as we get ready to get into this, just know that this is what we talk about all the time. This is one of the subjects. So I just wanted to start off we're going to kind of talk about traditional roles, modern roles, kind of the blended home roles. There's a lot that has happened to get to where we are at in society today.
Yep.
And, a lot of people may not even know how we even got here. The younger people and younger generation, this is what they're born into. This is all they know. For us that are a little bit older, we have a different perspective on roles.
Mm-hmm.
But I did pull a little research.
Ooh.
And you could do your own research.
Straight paperwork. Let's go.
You can do your own research, but the traditional family roles in America shifted due to confluence of factors, including the rise of women in the workforce, changing societal norms, increased divorce rates, and a decline in the prevalence of marriage, leading to diverse family structures. So with that said, let's get into it.
Let's go.
All right, Lane, I know you had a couple bullet points you wanted to dive into, but if we were start off with the traditional, what we call traditional role, what kind of comes to mind to you?
Well, like the traditional role in a traditional family, we're talking about husband, wife, the children, maybe even got a couple of pets up in there. No matter where you're living at, but the roles of the family help keep the family together, help keep the family strong, and keep that marriage strong as well. In a traditional family, the kids are from the same mom and dad, and that helps with structure, kids knowing their responsibility, knowing, number one, I think their boundaries, husbands and wives, knowing their boundaries. I remember when we were little kids when our grandparents or our mothers or anybody or father figures were having adult conversations, we had to leave the room. No, we couldn't be in that conversation. That's one of those levels of boundaries that help kids stay in their roles in a traditional household. But sometimes, kids, they got those ears. They want to hear what adults are talking about. And I get it. It's interesting, but we weren't allowed to talk. We had to leave the room, get out the premises and fly the coop when there was adult conversation going on.
Yep, absolutely. A lot of times I was told to be quiet, get out, like you said.
Yep.
If adult conversations were being held. And, back to what you were saying just about the traditional roles, like all those things that you mentioned, were considered the norm, at that time. When I think back to my grandmother and my grandfather and even meeting, my great grandmother, a lot of their just perspective on life was different,
Right.
The father or the husband, would do most of the work, outside of the house. And, our grandparents and great grandparents would do, the mothers would do a lot of the work, taking care of the family inside of the house.
Right.
And I didn't make these rules up, so don't be commenting on me, about what we're talking about. These are just things that we experience, these are just things that we saw. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is balance. If I'm being honest, I saw more balance, from that type of structure back in the day. Yeah. With that family dynamic, it just seemed like it had the right balance for everyone.
Right.
The kids, get taken care of, the husbands being taken care of, the wives being taken care of, because everyone kind of is getting their needs met in a different way.
Right.
What's your thoughts on that or view on that?
Yeah, it definitely creates sustainable balance. I can remember growing up, rather, you have your kids in the house, even adult children,
Mhm.
having everybody doing what they're supposed to do. My grandfather, I remember him getting up 3, 4 in the morning, going to work. And then later in the day, my grandmother, 3, 4 in the afternoon, she starts getting dinner ready. He worked, took care of the bills and everything in the household. And my grandmother decided just to stay home and be a housewife and take care of home and family. But there was structure. We knew what time we were eating. We knew when granddad left, what time he was leaving, where he was going, when he was coming back. And it made everybody comfortable. And rather you're little or small, it gave everybody their sense of responsibility, knowing, their boundaries of what they could do and what they can't do. My grandmother would often go outside. She had like a little garden she would get into. And, sometimes she would try to get me to do that. And that was her thing. And my grandfather would join her. And he would even sometimes when he would come home, because he liked to cook, he would put his hand in and give my grandmother a hand with the kitchen. But it was my grandmother who mostly did a lot of the stuff around the house, keeping the house clean and the cooking.
Yeah, that was my experience as well. And one of the things that I see that's a challenge, today, as we contrast like the traditional roles were, I mean, like our grandparents, like we were eat like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like the grandma was able to prepare in a sense by going to the store or getting stuff out of the garden all throughout the week, and
yeah,
I mean, they would be able to just make sure things were taken care of. Again, it was just that perfect balance. But I just remember how, like you said, structured things seem to be because of everyone embracing their roles.
yeah, yeah. That is what you talked about, the time we ate. And then I remember at that time, whenever we ate together at the house,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
And, not saying we had some deep, in depth conversation, but we were all at the table.
Yeah.
Maybe we were at the table even watching TV, but we were all at the dinner table eating, cracking jokes, laughing. Maybe we're talking about sports or something.
Yeah.
But I remember, even if it was a special occasion, birthday, holiday, maybe even like a sporting event on, we always ate together at the table. And that's something that's lost with the traditional family now.
Yeah.
A lot of people's work schedules, one person works this hour at this time of the day, the other person's working another kind of shift or whatever. And that's made things difficult for a traditional family to eat together. And that's something that is missing in a lot of families these days, is just having a simple meal together.
Man, ain't that the truth, man?
Yeah.
And it's crazy because we didn't get this way as a society overnight. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I wish I would have printed that picture, but you would know it if you saw it. There's a picture from like World War II where the lady's doing her flex. She's flexing and has
I
the
remember that.
bandana on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically, it was a time where, men were off to war. And, this opened up a time where ladies started kind of working in the factories and working in different kind of industrial work to help, while they were at the war. And so, shout out to all the women that went through that and had to go
Yeah.
through that to support their families and stuff.
Yeah.
But if I go back
To the paperwork.
to the paperwork and the research, it says post-industrial economy with its emphasis on information and services led to more married women entering the workforce,
Mm,
challenging the traditional breadwinner and homemaker roles.
mm, mm.
But we can see that there was a shift, that took place, in this country. And I'm sure you sprinkled throughout the world that happened, because
Yeah.
of war and just, the changing of the economy and kind of where we're at now, what you mentioned of not having simple dinners together. How does that make you feel growing up and you experienced that? Now it's like, it's a little more challenging when you have both parents, working and just trying to make it and provide the best that we can collectively, that type of thing.
Yeah.
How does that impact you, as because you were able to experience it, as a child?
Yeah, I seen it shift where, like I said, the basic concept of having a dinner together or a meal,
Mhm.
that was very just like, it's a culture shock to me. I wasn't used to eating out so much. We ate out maybe maybe like on a Saturday night, but from like Sunday through Thursday, we were eating meals, and especially Sunday. Sunday was like the biggest dinner in the household.
Yeah.
Then my grandmother going to the store. I used to like going to the store with my grandmother. You know, I get like a
Yeah.
little treat or something like that. But I was even taught like, hey, when you pick out meat for your meals, here's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's how I learned to cook, and I used to enjoy
Yeah.
that. We didn't have Instacart or none of those shopping services back in the days where, you know,
Right.
you order some ground beef and they bring you something that's been sitting there, you know, a week
Right.
and a half.
Right.
But that shift kind of hurt our communities a lot.
Yeah.
And with everybody has to work now these days, so sometimes you may have somebody with the income that can support everybody in the household. That may not be realistic now these days, you know, because that one
True.
person may take everything, and, you know, that's a lot of pressure on them. So I understand how now, because of cost of living, especially in California, cost of living is a lot. Both parents got to work. One parent's here, one parent's there. And the kids sometimes is home during the day by themselves,
Mm.
you know. But I've seen that shift. But let me ask you this. Where do you think the concept of traditional family comes from? Or are we getting that from what we seen like on TV? Part of it's growing up. But where do you think that's coming from, where our instincts are playing what we think of traditional family is like?
Yes, man, that's a good question. That's something I was pondering on all
Mm,
week too. I know a lot of it's shaped by uh, the media.
yeah.
You know, back in the days, we had the Huxtables, you know, the Cosby
Mm,
Show.
number one family. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and they had it all together. Everything looked good on the outside, right?
Yep.
And then we had, you know, some of the other shows like Leave It to Beaver. You know, if
Mm,
you want to take it way back, you know, take it way back, where
right. Right.
you know, it's still that was even probably more traditional, you know, than the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we have that aspect. We also have like the religious aspect, you know, where we get certain values from whatever your beliefs may be. You know, mine specifically stem from, you know, being raised in church, you know, at times, not as a youngster, but kind of, you know, going into the Christian church
Yeah.
and learning about things, you know, through the Bible. And I did pick up a lot of, I feel like, good views about family, definitely through reading the Bible.
Mm,
However, I do feel like there are a lot of man-made additions that have come
yeah.
along, you know, to where it's almost like, you know, kind of the manipulation of the roles, you know, to a certain extent to
Mm,
where it's
yeah, that's true.
extreme. You know, it's extreme. So I think it's come from a few of those different things, you know, from religious aspects, the media, you know. But that's how I would picture that.
Did you used to watch Good Times?
Yeah.
You remember Good Times? So Good Times was, you know, they were a poor black family, but traditionally their roles, their values, you know, yeah, they lived in an apartment in like I think it was Chicago or something like that. But dad went to work, mom, I can't remember if the wife, I don't remember her working that much, but the kids were well behaved, you
Mm-hmm.
know, dad worked. Dad was a disciplinarian too. Like he didn't play. Like when the dad entered, was it James, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
When he came, he was always angry. I don't know, maybe it was because the kind of job he had or whatnot. I didn't like that they portrayed him in that kind of angry state. And he was
right,
always yelling, but, you know, they ate dinner together. Kids were in line. You know,
yeah,
then we had the Cosbys too, where they were different, very different. Like mom and dad were very educated, had careers, and the children, same thing. They always ate together. The kids followed suit, where they were either working and or
yeah,
going to school.
yeah,
But that came from the foundation of mom and dad. You
yeah,
know, they demanded that, hey, we're going to eat together no matter what we got, even if we got, you know, one sandwich each or whatever,
yeah.
rich or poor, we're going to eat together.
Yeah, so that I mean that's another point that you're making is that really you imitate what you've
Yeah.
experienced, right? And so as much as I have wanted to keep tradition going, I feel like we're
Mm,
almost being sucked up by a society that those things are slowly drifting away.
right.
And what I mean by that is kind of like what you said, even though, you know, I have my own personal values and
Yeah.
beliefs on how I should take care of my family, right? That's not going to change. But I feel like because everything is so expensive, right? Like you
Yeah.
said, it's almost impossible to have the house you want or a lifestyle that you want without both working. And that's the unfortunate part. I don't like that particular
Yeah.
part. And you can call me chauvinistic, but that, my goal has always been my goal has always been that I would love to be in a place to financially take care of my family to where my
Right.
wife didn't have to work,
Right.
right? And
Right.
she could choose to do what she wants to make money doing. So some people may look at that as chauvinistic. I just look at it as that's my goal, is to be able
Hmm.
to always take care of my family. And they choose to do, specifically my wife chooses what she wants to do.
Right.
But,
Right.
again, this society is, everything is so expensive and we want things now, kind of what you were talking about, Instacart and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just getting into the Uber Eats and the
Hmm.
DoorDash.
Yeah.
And so I kind of find myself as like blending traditional with now modern,
Right. Right.
and it drives me nuts sometimes. What about you?
Yeah, the way society has put the pressure on the family, and i.e. keeping up with the Joneses,
Hmm.
everybody's got to work. I hear about sometimes where the kid is a older teenager, a young adult. Yeah, he
Hmm.
has a job too while he's going to school. And that makes everything harder. I remember we used to get maybe like a little summer job during the summer, put a little, bread in your pocket for the summer, maybe have a few extra school clothes or some nice shoes. But now, because there's so much pressure on the family to have for the kids to dress like this and mom to look like this and dad to look like this, man, that creates a whole lot of pressure on if there's like a one income household.
Sure
Now,
does.
both parents works a little bit more comfortable, but now you're taken away from the family, from the unit. Those meals together may
Hmm.
not happen so much. They may be rushed. When everybody gets to the table, man, they're tired. They can't wait ready to eat and go to bed. And then slowly but surely, the family starts breaking down. Does that mean just because you're not eating together, it's going to break apart? No, but those are the steps and how things like that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of the best conversations would take place around the table, around the living room
Mm-hmm.
eating. And we're just missing that. We're missing that. Everyone's so busy. Daughter gets home from school. She's tired. She's
Yeah.
had a full day like at work almost
Yeah.
these days. Wife, she's tired. I'm tired. So it's like we get why this is happening, but it just feels like you have to fight, for your whatever is your kind of belief and what you see in your home. You have to really fight for that because it's getting like annihilated, like right
Yeah.
before our eyes.
Yeah. I just, as you were talking about that, I started thinking, man, husband's working, wife's working, kids are in school. Then after school, what are most families doing? Guess what? The kids got activities.
Right.
You know, they got this sport, that sport, they're singing or dancing. Now you're not getting back till later at night and they got
Hmm.
to do homework. Maybe you didn't get a chance to go to the gym. You got your own activities, and that time together as a unit is getting smaller. And a lot of it's because the pressures of life, pressures of the world that's being upon us. So somehow, some way, people got to start getting back to some of those traditions with at least just eating together.
Yes.
I understand everybody's got their own thing, what they're trying to do with their life, but at least just start eating together. And that's a way to try to keep that family together.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I know when we were kind of putting this together, we were talking about the roles and,
Mm-hmm.
are they even necessary? And I
Yeah.
just want to start off by answering that with yes.
Yeah.
And the reason why is, a lot of people may have a problem with roles and, what the man or the woman does or what
Mm-hmm.
what the functions are and things like that. Look, you do what's best for you,
Right.
you do what works for you. But at the end of the day, there's balance that's needed.
Yeah.
And when we go to work, there's an order, that
Yeah.
takes place. Like the CEO of a company is not going to be the same person that's like in the sales department or in sports. There's certain roles. The quarterback is not the running back.
Yeah. It's a team.
It's a team. So I think that there is something to that we all have to really embrace. Again, like I'm not going to expect my wife to get up in the middle of the night if she hears like someone coming through the window like
Right.
that.
Right.
And I'm sure she wouldn't expect me just to sit there and her get up if somebody's, trying to open up our window during the middle
Right.
of the night.
Right. Right.
Or if we hear a little mouse running around, am I going to say, hey, go get the traps? You see what I'm saying? So
Right. Right.
there's certain, it's not that they can't do that, right?
Yeah.
It's not that the woman can't do anything. They can do all things, but
Yeah.
it's just a matter of what is more functional, what is more, balance in the house. Like
Yeah.
what have we been naturally created and designed to like thrive in and flourish in our roles?
Yeah.
What's kind of your thoughts on that?
Man, what you said about the protector. I mean, if you're a man and, maybe life has kind of got you, kind of pinned down where you don't got the best of jobs, you don't make the most money. Without all that, you are the protector of that house. Your wife, the kids, the dogs, everybody's dependent on you to be that protector. Like you said, if somebody's coming to the house, what are his odds versus going against the husband versus going against the wife? We know how that's going to end. But I always felt comfortable when my grandfather was home. Like, man, I think I remember telling that story last week where when he came home, I felt, man, protected. And my daughter will always ask me, hey, are you going to work? You going to work tonight? And I could see that look on her eyes that she knows if I'm home that she's protected, and that, I mean, for a man, that role, you can't do nothing else if you can't protect the people in your family, and whether that means laying down your life for them or whatever. But that's a role that doesn't take, any income or, fancy job title to do. It's just a role that you should have in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you made that point, and hopefully everybody picked that up. It's not about income. Like, we're not talking about, I know there's a lot of talk about high value men and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother conversation. We're talking about, the roles and a kind of a natural order that should be in the home. And with that, it doesn't make, one more valuable than the other. It's like we all need them to work the way they should, right? And that's in balance.
Right.
So I know a lot of people have this mindset of like 50-50, we go 50-50 in marriage. My personal opinion is if everybody does 100% of what they're supposed to do, then everything gets done.
Yeah, everything will work out.
50-50 is almost like you're waiting on the other person to do something before you do it. And I think that's a disservice like to our family. Well, you didn't do that, so I chose to not do that. Yeah. And I'm not opposed to like washing dishes or getting in and, cleaning up the tub or, as a leader of the home, and you can take this anywhere, like say, for instance, a military leader, it doesn't mean that they're not going to get in and do what they need to do if something is not done. Like a leader is supposed to know how to do everything that needs to get done, right?
True that.
But should they be doing that all the time?
Yeah.
That's just, I'm not going to ask my wife, keep taking out the trash. Can you get that for me? No, that's what I feel like I'm supposed to do. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but there are these mindsets out there that, if he don't do this and I ain't going to do that, well, then we're going to fail.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? If
that's
if
how
we
it
have
starts.
that mindset, then we're going to fail. I need to give 100% in what I know I should be doing. And my wife, or talking to other people out there, your counterpart should take on that 100% of what they know is the right thing to do.
Right. And you speak of like when we watched those shows, the Cosbys and Good Times, like on Good Times, they didn't have the money, clearly, but their unit was strong. The kids knew their roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. James
had, some old corduroy pants and a 7-year-old shirt. He went to work. For sure, he was the protector of that family.
Right.
Wife stayed home, and she was happy with that. They didn't have much. They didn't have all the fancy, trendy names and stuff like that, but they knew their responsibilities. But that's how it starts breaking down with getting out of roles and responsibilities. And man, in my house, I love to cook. That's just something I like doing. Yeah. And so do I come with this barbaric sense of no, my wife? No, because I love cooking. That's one of the things I like doing. Even if she's in the kitchen cooking, I'll kind of just be looking to see what she's making or how she making it. And that ain't right, but that's just what I do because I love being in the kitchen and cooking from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But
Right.
that's one of the things I like doing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's man, that's a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
It's I don't know where this came along that, like only women cook,
Right. Right. Right.
only women clean. Like
Yeah. Nah.
that's not the case and shouldn't be the case. Now, again, there should be a balance and what we do, for the most part, I take care of things that got to be fixed, the yard and, the trash and all those things, so there should be a balance, but
Right.
then I pick days that I cook, for the
Yeah.
family to try to help my wife. She's
Yeah.
working, she's, trying to balance things too.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
the
There you
dishes
go.
the dishes are piling up, like I'm not gonna just be like, okay, well, she's gonna get to it. No, like it's my house. Like I'm not gonna just
Right.
walk by and just let stuff like, fall apart like that. That's
Right.
not like what a true leader would do anyway.
Man, you were saying just how somebody who's in charge of a military group, does that mean they're not going to do specific jobs? No, they'll do what they got to do right that time, right there
Mhm.
for the team to
There you go.
survive. But what we're talking about is not from a barbaric sense of men do this, women do this. This is kind of stuff that leads to a toxic household or a
Yeah.
toxic environment.
Yeah.
Then guess what? The kids carry that on into their relationships. And then it just keeps going on because there was no foundation with the family of everybody has different roles and responsibilities. The kids learn that because they're going to learn what they watch from us. Even if we tell them what to do, what they
Yep.
see us do is what they're going to practice later in life.
That's exactly it. Yep. They're going to practice what they see us do, later in life. Exactly
Mm,
that point. And so that kind of just transition into, I think that the modern woman
right.
and modern family, but they go hand in hand. If a person, for example, if a modern woman is just all about getting that bag,
Yeah. Yeah.
then she's not going to be about the family.
Hmm.
If the person is all about
Yeah.
getting that right look,
Right.
I mean, you're gonna have a problem on your hands, youngster. The one that's,
Right.
trying to grow up and raise a family, and you're trying to pick, the right woman that you
Right.
can grow with and build with. I mean, I'm just saying, like,
Right.
stay far away from the person that is so consumed with just themselves, because it's gonna lead to some problems and some broken things in the home.
Yeah, and just as you said that about what you're looking at, when you want all the fancy clothes or that name, the high value man, and hey, well, obviously we're not women, but you could tell, what a high value woman is not necessarily on how she looks or what she does. It's how that person carries himself. Do
Yeah.
they carry themselves like a high value man, a man of respect, a man who's going to pull out the chair for his wife, open the door
Mhm.
for her,
Yeah.
and a high value woman? It ain't about what she looks like or what she
Hmm.
looks like on the screen. It's how
Right.
she carries herself. And
Exactly.
sometimes you can look and tell if they're a high value person, sometimes by their family, a lot of times by their family. People don't want to talk about that, but it's not impossible to learn good values and roles or responsibilities, even if you came from a broken home. Because a lot of kids who come from situations like that, man, they want a structured family. They want
Mhm.
to eat at the table with their family, but they're
Exactly.
lacking that because they didn't have that growing up.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
those are some red flags to look for on both sides. If you see
Mm.
a
Yeah.
if you see a man that doesn't know how to talk to his mom or just his mom and dad appropriately,
Yeah.
they're going back and forth or just disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably need to stay away,
Yeah.
because if they can talk to their family, and I'm talking about their mom or their dad in a disrespectful way, how do you
Yeah.
think they're going to talk to you? Like you're next on the totem pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are like red flags. Like you said, you can kind of tell, like, when somebody opens their mouth. For one, you can tell, like,
Mm.
if you're visiting family and just the way that if they're polite, if they're watching kind of things that they say around their family. Those are things you want to take note of.
Man, does that go the same for like women? You could tell kind of how they are based upon how they treat the men in their life, their dad, uncle, brother. Does the
I
same
think
go for that too? How they react to them or their lack of respect for men around them?
I think so. I think it just pours into every relationship.
Yeah.
And it's sad because that particular person is probably hurting from lacking something, whether it was a father figure or maybe just the family unit itself. Maybe the roles weren't really lived out in front of them. It could
Yeah.
be, a lot of things that are going on, but I think it's definitely a red flag when you see that a woman talks to her brother, you know, crazy, or, her
Yeah.
father, her uncle, whoever it is, someone at the store, it could be anywhere. But because if that's just who they are, then you're going to have to deal with that at home.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's true. So,
yeah, man, you got any other points you wanted to hit on this? I
man,
know it's
that
a
was
hot
just it.
topic.
Just about, we talked about how that stuff affects the kids later in life. They take that into their relationships because they saw how mom and dad acted. And, at some point, you got to get it down right. Otherwise, you'll just keep having it. Bad relationship after bad relationship, and you won't understand why. You'll always be pointing the finger.
Yeah.
And that's something you got to look at inwardly. Nobody can tell you that because sometimes we don't give a proper judgment of ourselves. We,
Hmm.
don't want to think we got problems or issues. Oh, no, I'm good. I'm great. No,
Yeah.
stuff you got to work on. We all got to work on.
Sure. And
Yeah.
that's why we've been doing this show, spitting
Yep.
and chatting. It kind of goes back to, again, we just want to be transparent. Like, we don't have
Yep.
it all together. We've gone through some things, but you want to have someone you can talk to. You want to have someone that has your back, that can relate
Absolutely.
relate to you, ain't gonna judge you, ain't gonna throw the Bible at you. Um,
Mm.
you definitely may need somebody to pray with you. I'm not
Yeah.
going to discount
Yeah.
that. That's powerful.
Yeah.
But you don't need nobody
Definitely.
just throwing the Bible at you, or just, telling you what you're doing wrong all the time. Sometimes you just need somebody to just talk with,
Yeah.
get it
Yeah.
out, and just be
Yeah.
honest with you. So that's what this show is all about.
Yeah. And that's sometimes I didn't even think of that, just how church and religion play a factor with roles and responsibilities in a house. And
Mhm.
it breaks down things in very specific terms, about what this person should do and what this person should do. And that's something that a lot of people don't want to look at,
Yeah.
for whatever they swallow their pride, or they don't want to. Yeah, that's what the Bible says. Well, the Bible says a man should be doing this and a woman should be doing that. And hey, do you have to follow that and do that? No, but don't get religious later on when you didn't want to follow the concept of foundation in a household that say what you're supposed to do, but you want to do other things. It's like, what do you call them? Cafeteria Christians. They take
Yeah.
out what they want to take out,
Yeah. Pick and choose. They want all the
Right, right,
sweets
right,
and don't
right.
want the Brussels sprouts and the broccoli.
Nah,
You
nah.
know.
They want all the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And just I guess kind of, I know as we're wrapping up, but on that topic, I do believe there's a purity of like beliefs,
hmm,
that a person can get versus like some man-made, beliefs that they've
yeah,
added on to things, and makes it so extreme and unbearable.
yeah,
And I think that's where a lot of our women may feel overwhelmed, because
mm,
their man is like, you need to do this. I don't do these certain things, I don't
right,
cook,
right,
I don't clean. And that's just like, that's nowhere in the Bible.
right.
That's nowhere in the
Yeah,
Bible. That's just my
no,
particular belief. But there's other, religions out there, but that's not even in there. So,
right,
a lot of people just make up stuff and they add on different things that just make it feel so impossible,
yeah,
So, um, so again, we're all about just having these conversations that a lot of people don't want to have, or
yeah,
just not comfortable having. And so I'm just
yeah.
glad we got this time to do it.
Man, I know we're coming to the end right now, man. Just want to show everybody these new shirts we got. We're putting them out there.
Oh yeah.
Sooner or later, we're going to have some merch and a link in the description for everybody to come and get that. I know we're starting. Well, we appreciate the likes.
Yeah.
Please leave some comments and please subscribe. It helps the channel grow. We're just starting, but we're going uphill at it, but we're going upwards with it. So leave us comments, subscribe, support the channel. It helps us. And like I said, sooner or later, we're going to have some merch for everybody, and we're going to keep this channel going.
That's right. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right. See you guys later.